Blog Talk Radio.
It's Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, on the Blog Talk Radio Network. Once again, it's time for the most intriguing talk radio on the internet today. This is Sasquatch Watch Radio. Breaking news and information from around the world. Interviews with men and women investigating the mystery. The latest high-tech equipment. Cutting-edge research techniques. And amazing discoveries. Real-life people sharing real-life encounters. The director and founder of Sasquatch Watch Virginia, here is your host, Billy Willard. Something is out there in the dark, watching, waiting. It's time to unleash the beast. This is Sasquatch Watch Radio.
Alrighty, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Today is Monday, February 8th, 2010. Many of you may notice that I'm still a little hoarse. I'm getting over pneumonia, so please bear with me tonight. If I have to mute out a few times because I might go into a coughing fit, and I'll try to mute everything out so I don't break anybody's eardrums. And also welcome to the wonderful co-host that we have every single week, Mr. Mike Killen. How you doing tonight, Mike?
Hey, Billy. Well, I'm sure I'm doing a little better than you are. I hope you're at least somewhat better. I know you sound a little better than you did last week. Last week you didn't sound good at all.
Yeah, I just feel like that a lot of this stuff is at this point it's coming out of my chest, and it feels like it's just kind of hung up in my throat. So it's definitely a lot better because I can take a deep breath now and actually catch my breath. So that's a plus in itself. So anyway,
yeah.
we won't linger on that.
Hopefully this is just the tail end of it, and by next week you'll be good as new, and hopefully you can take it easy and get some rest and recoup.
Yeah, that's I've had the opportunity to kind of take it easy, with the snow and everything, and having the kids go out and do most of the snow shoveling and stuff. So I went out there and tried it, and that was a mistake, so I didn't go out and do it again. So
yeah, they must have been kids must have been quite busy, as you guys got a ton of snow down that way. I mean, I know parts of Maryland, they got 3 feet of snow. They closed the airports, and even some areas are still digging out.
Yeah, our official measurement after it was all said and done here was 36.2 inches.
Wow. That is a
everything's piled up. It looks like a wall when you're going down the road.
Yeah. That's a major blizzard. That's a blizzard. It's a full-out blizzard. I mean, when you get that much snow and they plow the roads, it's piled up 6, 7, 8, 10 feet high on the sides of the roads.
Oh yeah, it's terrible. I mean, and in the parking lots, it's even worse. I mean, they usually try to pile it in a central location, and it's just, it could be 12, 15 feet high piles. I mean, it's just amazing. But bad thing is we got some more coming in here tomorrow. It's supposed to start around noon. My understanding is we're going to get a minimum of another foot, and there's rumors rolling around that we could get 20 inches.
Again, wow.
So I don't know where we're going to put it.
I tell you, yeah, you guys are getting hammered down that way this winter. I mean, we're going to get snow here too, but I don't think they're calling for quite that much. I think we might get a foot, but that's a foot is on the light side compared to what you got down there. So
yeah, it's I think I feel like I'm up in upstate New York or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
crazy.
You're wondering when did you move?
Yeah, Chris. Yeah, Chris. That's what I was thinking too, Chris. Global warming sucks. I don't know. Need some global warming right now. I know that. Of course, once that happens, of course, we're going to have a flood. So I don't know what's worse. I don't know. Anyway, we'll quit complaining now. Anyway, welcome everybody to the show. I did not have the opportunity to find a guest for today. This will be the first time that the radio show has not had a guest, and we've planned to do just an open mic type show. Just didn't have the time and just didn't have the energy to really work on getting a guest. So we'll have a guest next week. I've got about 3 or 4 people in line to find out what dates they want to set up, and they're going to be some good ones. So definitely tune in, and we'll have some good guests, especially starting next week. There's a couple things we could talk about. As a lot of people probably already know, we have the upcoming 22nd annual Bigfoot Conference coming up in Ohio, up in Salt Fork State Park. I've went to that conference at least the past 3 years, and I've enjoyed every single one I've attended. Again, it's going to be this year. It's going to be on May 15th, 2010. It will start at the actual conference itself will start at 4 p.m. But typically on the Friday, on May 14th, on Friday, they typically have a sort of a little dinner for the speakers, and it's a good opportunity for people who can be there on Friday to meet up with the people that are going to be speaking at the conference. And more than likely, you'll really want to show up Friday for this one because of who's going to be there. They're going to have none other than Mr. Bob Gimlin is going to be attending this conference. Now, I'm hoping he'll be able to be there Friday because he is such a wonderful fellow to talk to. I got the opportunity to meet him up in Washington, at the Yakima Bigfoot Roundup, and he is such a wonderful guy to talk to. Very nice, pleasant fellow. So, highly recommend that you attend just for that fact. Rob McConnell is also supposed to be at the conference. Anyone knows Rob McConnell? He's the one that does X-Zone Radio from Ontario, Canada. And then, of course, they're going to have Tom Yamarone also is going to be there. A lot of people know him from some of the songs he writes, the Bigfoot songs. But he's an independent Bigfoot researcher out of California. I've had the opportunity to meet him also in Yakima. Great, wonderful, funny guy. So you definitely want to be there for that. So let's see. I think that's about it. There'll be a $5 donation required at the door, which $5 ain't bad at all. There of course will be, as usual, there'll be some tables there where you can get different Bigfoot T-shirts and all kinds of different things. Typically, Don holds an auction where he auctions off several things. As long as you get in there ahead of time before Henry May gets there, you might have the opportunity to buy a couple things.
Yeah, you might actually have a chance to bid on something, right? Maybe go home with something if you beat Henry.
That's right. So I know Henry's listening, so I don't know if he's coming or not. Henry, you can let us know if you're coming. Just so everyone knows, we're going to kind of have an open mic night tonight. So if you want to call in and just chat about something or have a question or got something you want to talk about, feel free to call in. The call-in number is area code 347-237-5070. Again, it's 347-237-5070. And, of course, if you have a question that you would rather just ask in the chat room, you can put that in there for Mike to catch. Make sure you put it in all caps Makes it easier for him to see, and I just printed that in the chat room. So feel free to type in any questions or comments, and then we'll check the switchboard. Looks like we've got a couple people on. I don't know if they're listening or calling in, so we'll check the lines and see who we got. Skype caller, you're on the air.
Hey, Billy and Mike, it's Abe. Just called to listen in so far, and
hey,
hope the pneumonia clears up for you, buddy.
You gonna be joining us at the Ohio conference, Abe?
I already got my room reserved.
There you go, buddy. There you go.
You got to jump on that. It's going to be going pretty quick with all the guests.
Yep. Well, Bob Gimlin's going to sell the place out.
Yeah.
Bob he's a great guy. He really is, and people just ain't going to believe just what a humble, nice fella he is. I mean, it's just amazing. He's just a nice guy.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, I've had the pleasure to talk to him on the phone a couple of times, and it's going to be great just to finally meet him.
Oh, yeah. It's always great. All right. Do you want to stay on and talk with us, or you just want to mute out and listen into the show? Or?
Well, I'll mute out right now and listen in. And if I have any questions, I'll press the button and raise my hand.
All right. Sounds good, Abe. Thanks a lot for calling.
Thank you.
Hey, Billy, about the conference, might just want to add in, too, that he hasn't posted exactly what other activities will be going on, but there is going to be some stuff happening on the Sunday as well. The next day following the conference, the conference is on the Saturday, officially. The meet and greet is the Friday night. I think around dinner time, around 7 p.m. or something is the meet and greet. Yeah. I think let me see here. It's 7. Actually, it says the meet and greet will begin at 6 p.m. 7 p.m. There's going to be a buffet dinner at the lodge. So yeah, that'll be. And he thinks that the cost of the buffet is $14.95. He's not 100% sure, but he thinks that's what it is. And then you're right. On Sunday, he's going to announce an activity. I know typically they have I don't know if they'll do the same thing or not, but typically he'll take people around and show some of the historic sighting areas, things like that for folks, and kind of like a little short hikes. You usually drive there in your car and take a short hike, and someone speaks about a sighting or something that took place in the area. So it's always kind of fun for people who don't get the opportunity to really get out there and, Yeah, that's kind of like what they call a walking tour kind of a thing, They do those in New York City a lot, like a sightseeing thing. They'll take you on a bus to an area where there's several, places of interest, and they'll pile off the bus, and then they'll walk around and tell everybody about the area and stop at the different places. Kind of the same idea, but with Bigfoot sighting locations. Right. Well, let's see who this other person we have here. We got a caller from the 304 area code. You're on the air.
Hi, Billy. It's Nancy. I'm just calling in to listen.
All right, Nancy. Are you going to be there this year?
Sure I am.
All right. I'm going to hold you to that. I better see you there somewhere.
Yeah, I'll be sober this year.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't have to take you to your room?
No, I'm not saying that.
Hey, now. Now, just don't take that out of context now, people.
Oh, they'll never know what we're talking about, huh?
Oh, man. All right, Nancy, we'll mute you out so you can listen to the show.
Thank you.
All right, and then, of course, we have Mr. I Want Everything in the Auction himself, Mr. Henry May.
Hey, guys.
What's up?
Henry.
First of all, I want to say, who dat? Who dat?
Who dat?
Yep. Saints won the Super Bowl.
When I watched that game yesterday, I knew who wanted to win that game.
Yeah.
Those guys were determined.
Yeah.
They kind of got off to a real slow start, but they started to come on in the second quarter there and just kind of took over after the half. The beginning of the third quarter.
Yep, they sure did. And I do plan to be in the Ohio conference this year. I made my reservations on Friday. Do you know it's cheaper to stay at the lodge than it is to stay at the cabins?
Yes, it is. It's and then I believe if you stay on Sunday, you get an even cheaper price.
Yes, you do.
Yep. So, and I just want to tell everybody that hasn't been there, this place is beautiful. I mean, this place is like a resort. I mean, it's got an inside pool, a heated pool, hot tub. It's got a game room downstairs. It's got a restaurant downstairs, a bar downstairs. The lodge itself is just beautiful, and it's right smack dab out in the middle of the woods. I mean, it's just a beautiful, beautiful place.
It is.
It's,
anyway,
like taking a vacation.
It is. It really is. The one thing I wanted to talk about was this new thermal image from North Carolina. And Billy, you got to see it. You and I got to see it last year at the Yakima event.
Yeah.
And from Mike Green, and of course there's been some flack going on as far as people having to pay for the higher resolution video, I should say. But you can actually see it on YouTube. It's on the BFRO videos channel on YouTube. It's lower resolution, but I think it's essentially the same thing, pretty much.
Yeah.
As if you saw it in the high resolution. So I don't see why people are complaining about paying for the higher resolution version.
Yeah, I mean, really, what can you really say about it? Obviously there's two subjects in the film. They do appear to be bipedal. I'm not arguing that point. I really ain't. I mean, it really does appear to be that they're bipedal. The research that I've done has been very limited on that film because I tend to let people who have expertise in that area of thermal imagers, such as William Dranginis. I know that Dranginis has been working with thermal imagers for over a decade. He's taken classes. He's got certifications through FLIR to do analysis on those type of thermal images. And who better to let look at something like that than someone who's had the training? But my understanding is that he can't get his hands on a copy that he can use for analysis. And he knows more about that than I do, but, there's ways of taking those images and he can actually depict the temperatures of those images on that thermal. So he's definitely the person that really would be nice to get his hands on it so that he can do some analysis.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's it's an interesting, it's an intriguing image, but it's ultimately inconclusive, as we all know.
Sorry, I had to mute out there. I got into one of my little coughing fits.
Oh, okay.
That's what happens when I talk too much.
Henry, that footage is, like everything else to date, dubious at best and certainly inconclusive. Certainly it's an upright figure, and certainly you can see it. It does appear to be humanoid. You see the torso and the shoulders and the head, and but could easily be a person too. That's the whole thing. You can't see anything but a vague white image, basically in a humanoid shape.
Absolutely. As I said, it's interesting and it's intriguing, but it's ultimately inconclusive. The only thing that's really going to be conclusive, and the scientists and the anthropologists have been saying this for years, we need a body or a piece of the body. Nothing else will do.
Unfortunately, that's the way it always turns out.
Yep.
Well,
anyway,
it's something interesting to see. So.
It is. Anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to say, and I will be there for the conference. I made my reservation on Friday, as I said, and Bruce better get there early, especially on Saturday, before I buy up everything in place.
I'll just tell Don to lock the doors right during the first part of the auction.
Yeah. But, excuse me. But, I think it's going to be a great conference. I mean, with being there and Tommy Emerone and Rob McConnell. I've never heard Rob McConnell give a presentation, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of presentation he gives. It'll also be interesting to see what he says, seeing as how he's skeptical of the PG film being and Gimlin's going to be there.
Yeah, it'll be definitely be interesting. I don't know what Rob's going to talk about, but we'll see. Yeah.
Yep. All right, guys. I guess that'll do it for me, and I'll talk to y'all a little bit later on.
All right. Good night, Henry.
Guys,
right.
Billy, you get better.
All right. Thank you.
Take care, Henry.
All right. You got any questions or anything in that chat there, Mike?
Actually, yes. We had a question before, and there's just another question just now, but I'm going to go with the earlier question first, ask them in the order that they were asked, or answer them, rather, in the order that they were asked. The first question was about the conference. This comes from John Tennessee, John TN, in the chat. He says, do you have to register or just show up in Ohio for the conference, and where do I find more information? I pretty much know the answer to that.
Yeah, I think the best way to get information about the conference is to go directly to Don Keating's website.
Yep.
And that is www.eobic. That's E as in Echo, I as in Igloo. Oh, wait a minute, I got that backwards. Okay.
Yeah, you're jumping ahead.
E as in Echo, O as in Ohio, B as in boy, I as in Igloo, C as in cat, .net. So EOBIC.net. Once you get there, you'll see a link called the 22nd Annual Bigfoot Conference. And if you click on that, it's got all the information there that you need. You do want to jump on this, people, because they do have special rates on the rooms at the lodge. When you call in, you need to make sure that you tell them that you're attending the Bigfoot Conference. Because my understanding is that the rooms are going quickly. They also do have cabins. The cabins obviously are going to be a little bit higher. However, you can fit a lot of people in the cabins because the cabins have 2 bunk beds in one room. That's 4 people. Plus you've got a large queen-size bed in another room. So you've got 2 people there. So you can get as many as 6 people in a cabin and split the rate. So, whether you go for a cabin or you go for a lodge, either way, you're really going to make out. But you definitely want to jump on it right away because it will start selling out pretty quickly at this point.
And I think, Billy, for the folks to get that special low rate on the room, due to the conference, I believe I remember Don saying on another show that you have to speak directly to the folks at the front desk at Salt Fork State Park yourself and basically tell them that you're there for the conference, because I know sometimes people will have somebody else make the reservations for them, or they'll just go on the Salt Fork State Park website maybe and like try to make the reservations online, just typing it in. But you need to speak to the folks directly at the front desk, I believe, to get that rate. Make sure you get the conference rate on the room.
Yep. And I tell you, those are they're a nice bunch of folks up there at that lodge. They enjoy these conferences, and they love it when everybody comes to these conferences. So,
all right.
Sorry about that. Had to mute out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely call in early. Get your room reserved. So, all right, I think that answers that.
Well, and his other question was, do you have to register or just show up? Well, if you don't want to stay, maybe if you're local, a day's, not even a day, a couple hours drive, and you're not planning on staying the night after the conference, maybe you're going to drive home, you don't need necessarily to do anything but just show up that day, and it's a $5 donation at the door. I think that's what he was asking, basically. Do you have to, like some conferences, maybe you have to pre-register. It's not a requirement, but certainly if you're going to stay there and try to get a room, you're going to have to, get a room beforehand, of course. But if you just want to attend the conference and you're local and you're going to be driving home afterwards when it's over, then no, you can just show up at the store for those folks that. Yeah, the
only time you need to reserve anything is if you want VIP seating. Typically, Don has a few rows right up in the front of the conference room that there's an additional charge for those seats if you want to be close up where the speakers are. And if you do want to check on that special VIP seating, then what you have to do is actually contact Don Keating at his email. Where did he put that? He wrote on here at the email address below, and I'm looking for it. Oh, there it is. Okay, it's eobic@yahoo.com. So just like the website, eobic at yahoo.com. So if you email Don Keating directly, you can check with him on any special VIP seating. All right.
And we did have one other question after that. Mike from the Alabama Bigfoot site, Watch One in the chat, he was asking, if you find a body or someone calls you that they found the body, what do you do with it?
That question's been brought up a lot, and we've discussed it, and I've discussed it with several people. The first thing I think I would want to do is I'm going to make darn sure that everyone knows that I found it. And when I say that, what I mean is I'm going straight to the media. I'm going to make darn sure that it is known by the general public that a body was found, and they're going to film it before I, take it out of my possession. I personally think that's what we'd have to do, because you hear about all these folks claiming about these things coming up missing, and whether they're all stories or conspiracies, I don't know. Talking about helicopters coming and taking them away, or trucks coming and taking them away. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but
the Men in Black.
Documentation. One way to document is go straight up to Fox News. Say, hey guys, or actually have someone with you to go in there because you don't want to leave it.
Yeah. Go
in there and get one of those guys and have them come out with the cameras and just document everything. There it is.
Bring a news crew right into the woods with you, right? Drag CNN or somebody right in there with you.
That's right. That's right. So that personally, I think that's what I would do. My first move of action would be to get the media and say, here it is, guys, film this, document it. It's here. Let the public see it. And then at that point, I think I'd be making some phone calls to some well-known universities. So that's me. What about you, Mike?
Well, I think you want to get the word out to as many people as you can, so that it would not be easy for for some government types to just kind of quickly swoop in and sweep it under the rug, so to speak. But I think even before you bring the news crew in, if that's what you're going to do, I think you have to take some kind of samples to make sure you get some off the body and safeguard them, make sure that they're put in a very safe place that somebody wouldn't know where it was. You know, you want to get some tissue samples, some blood, you know, whatever. You know, you want to get good DNA kind of evidence, you know, hard evidence before you even let anybody know about the body, because, you know, there is a very good chance that it's going to be taken out of your possession pretty quickly. So that's what I would do. Is you want to get physical evidence first, then bring in news media, whoever, you know, get as many people to see it as possible, and then, well, you know, just let the chips fall where they may after that, because who knows exactly what is going to happen from that point. But needless to say, the government will get involved at some point, whether it's you know, the government level, the state level, you know, somebody, you know, whether it's the DEC, DNR, you know, game warden, you know, somebody's going to step forward and you know, claim it, I'm sure. So I want to make sure you get your evidence and put it in a very safe place where people won't know where it is.
That's a good point. That's a good point, Mike. That's for sure. Let me see who this other caller is. We got another Skype caller on the line. You're on the air. Hello, Skype caller. You're on the air. All right, they just must be tuning in.
Yeah, either that or they stepped away from the from the computer for a moment just when you picked up. But in any event, oh well. They're lost, I guess. If they want to ask a question, then you know, they can put the hand up, and we'll get back to them.
Yep. Now, did you see any other questions in the chat room before I think up of another subject to discuss?
It's been going at a pretty good clip, and I've been scanning it and popping back and forth, doing something else. But no, I did not see any other ones since Watch One's question there, the one we just asked about the body.
All right. Okay. Well, let's see here. If anyone wants to call in and discuss anything, I'll give out the number again. It's 347-237-5070. I mean, if you can discuss anything, you know, for example, if you want to talk about why JC is the greatest Bigfoot hunter in the world, or, you know, whatever y'all want to talk about. See, look, that was like premonition. He knew I was going to say that.
Yeah. Yeah, I see him typing that in the chat, yeah, as you were talking about it. But that's JC, you know.
Yeah, I know. You know, that's typical. Let's see. I know one thing I can talk about. I did get got an encounter report the other day. Let me see if I can find it here in Virginia. I was kind of surprised because I hadn't had anything come in for quite some time, and then I finally got something. I mean, it's nothing big, but, you know, something fun to talk about. Let's see if I can find it. Hey, y'all like my ringtone? Well, that was Linda. Linda, if you're listening to the show, you know I can't answer the phone right now.
I see the Skype caller's got the hand up, so maybe they wanted to say something. Got a question.
Okay. I'm gonna turn this phone on vibrate before that happens again.
Yeah, there's actually 3 Skype callers I see, but the last one, number 4 there, just put the hand up. So.
All right, let me see if I can get over there. Okay, Skype caller, you on the air?
Hey, hello, is that me?
That is you. I didn't even hear what that was, buddy. I don't know. Can anybody make that out? I couldn't make it out.
No, not important, whatever it is.
That's right. Let's see. All right, I think that was it. I think 304 is Nancy calling back in, I think. All right. Now, what was I getting ready to talk about? I think I was getting ready to talk about a sighting report that came in. See if I can find it here. Here we go. Yeah, we had a sighting report come in. Let's see, this thing came in on day was that? That was on February 5th, which was Friday. And it was talking about an encounter in New Kent, Virginia, out on Route 249. Happened at about 1 a.m. in the morning. And it's a person who claimed that they had heard a sound that sounded like the sound they hear on the Monster Quest TV shows. I emailed him to kind of get some more information about what he meant exactly, and he said it was a low-pitched, short sound, and that's really about as far as we've went. So we got a sound encounter, first thing I've had in several months here in Virginia. Seems like the sighting and the encounter reports have went way down. Have you noticed that too, Mike?
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, I mean, outside of Pennsylvania, which they had a banner year this year for encounter reports, I mean, PBS has been very, very busy this year. Outside of that, I really haven't seen all that much reports in general. I mean, I haven't heard about that many. You know, you do hear here and there, but I think overall seems to be, a downward trend this past year in encounter reports, overall.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I had another little bout there.
Yeah. Well, that's going to happen. Not a problem.
Anyway, I think we got somebody else that's getting ready to call in, I believe. Let's see. All right, I got two of them now with hands up, so let's see what we got.
But, they're Skype, so finger on the button there.
I know. Skype caller, you're on the air.
Is that me?
That'll be you, yes.
All right,
All right, I think he muted himself out because I didn't touch it.
I'm Lawrence Holmes. I'm from John Lane, Cambridge, MA, Massachusetts.
Uh-huh.
Right now I'm like shooting, forming, pressing, compacting machine tender, but at the time of this I was actually a train operator.
Yeah.
Kind of changed professions after because this scared me to all hell. What happened was we were going to a station, right?
Yeah.
So the trains, I guess something broke down. I'm not the dude who does all the technical stuff. I just drive it, but something broke down, so I had to run to the station. It's about a half mile. There's this big dip on the way there, right? So a bridge go over it. I fell into it. I was at this dark figure, right? Oh, probably a good 20, 30 feet away. This thing was towering over me. And, I did the only logical thing any human being would do. I did a barrel roll. Man. A barrel roll, ran away, threw some CPM. It was the only way to escape, man. Only way.
You barely escaped with your life.
Yeah. I thought the thing was going to, attack me. Good thing I did that barrel roll,
Yeah. Did you try to roll him over like bowling pins?
Yeah, man, it was pro.
Dude, yeah, man, that's the way to do it, dude.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy. Did you enjoy that one, Mike?
Yeah, well, I was wondering when you were gonna let that go on.
Well, I figured I'd play with it a little bit.
Yeah, well, and to be honest, in the very beginning when he went mute for a couple of seconds, that was me. I actually I hit the button on it because I could tell right away, and I thought it was the same guy with that music again. I thought it sounded like him, the voice for that second or two. So I hit it and I said, well, okay, I'll give him another couple more seconds, give him a little more rope to hang himself, and then I unmuted him. But I knew that was going south.
All right, hold on just a minute, Mike. We got an issue in the...
Yeah, I just saw that because I was watching the other. I was looking at the phone lines. I'm trying to click on here, but it's not letting me to.
All right, I think I just did it. So.
Yeah, I was trying to click and it wouldn't click on there to give him the boot.
Yeah. Next time that happens, I'll make certain that I get the IP address because I can see their IP addresses. So, just before anybody gets that idea, just so you know, I can get your IP address. All right, we got a ton of callers now at this point. Now I don't know what to answer and what, you know. So let's answer a real phone number here. Phone number at the 248 area code. You're on the air. Well, I guess they decided to call back on a regular number, so
I guess so. But
let me mark that one down: 248-980-9922.
Hey, maybe they don't realize that that we can see their number, so they want to call in and goof off. Well, we'll have their number.
That's right. So anybody wants that number again, just hit the archive. Let's see. I think I know who this is at the 540 area code. This is someone that's got some sense. How you doing, Allison?
Hey, Billy. I was calling to listen. Did I miss anything?
In to listen?
I was just calling to listen. I'm not at home, and I just called to listen.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah, play right tonight, but we didn't hear. He didn't communicate tonight, so I don't have any news.
All right. Sounds good. I'll put you on the mute so you can listen.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome. All right, what's your call, Mike? We've got two of them on there.
Well, I see you got another Skype, which is always a Russian roulette. You got one Skype with the hand up, and then you got another one at the bottom that does not have a hand. You just took that. That was just a 540, right? You just took that one.
Yeah, 540 is Allison. She's just listening into the show.
340, we know she's listening in. So.
Yep.
Well, I don't know. Are you feeling? You feeling lucky? You wanna take another chance at a Skype number?
Just kind of like a Russian roulette, ain't it?
Exactly. Well, that's why I say. That's why I hit it right away before, and I said, maybe I'm jumping the gun. Maybe I should give the guy a few more seconds just to be certain. But I had that feeling, so. But I'll, what the heck, give it a shot. We'll just be ready on the button, or I will, either one. We'll just.
All right, let's see what we got.
All right.
Okay, Skype caller, you're on the air.
Would that be me?
That would be you.
All right, hey, how's it going?
Good.
All right, well, I just kind of wanted to be quick about it. I just wanted to tell you about this experience that me and my wife had with Bigfoot. And, see, we were actually in Northern California, somewhat about 30 miles from Sacramento, I think, somewhere around there. But, so we pulled into a rest area, and we went into the bathroom and everything, we came out, push button, receive bacon, but then we saw this thing coming down from the forest area. It was kind of on a forest, kind of away from the highway, and it was coming at us pretty fast. It saw us, I guess, and it was going really fast, and the only thing I could do was fire my lasers at him and shoot.
Yeah, that didn't take long, did it?
No.
All right, just so you know, those callers have ruined it for the rest of the Skype callers. I'm not going to answer any more Skype calls. So.
And you notice it's always the 20-something. It's always the young people that are the troublemakers. 99% of them anyway. So I think whenever you hear a voice that you think sounds under 25, you should be on your toes.
Well, I'd hate to do that because Jordan might call in, and that'd be a good call.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying on Skype,
Oh gosh. All right. Well, before I take any more calls, has there been any questions in the chat room?
Yeah, we actually had a question from Spin Dave.
All right.
I was just scrolling right through quick to see if there's any other questions. No, I don't see any other ones after that. Okay. So Spin Dave had a question. He says, does anyone have a plan of action on the finding of a live but injured or ill Bigfoot? And do they have a protocol for the finding of a very young Bigfoot? So basically, he's saying, if one is found alive and breathing?
That's a really, really good question. Definitely would want to proceed with caution on that. I think we all know that it wouldn't take much for one of these things to rip any of our limbs right off.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't have I can't say I have a protocol. I would have to say I would have to call someone in. That's a really good one, Mike. What do you think? I don't think I have an answer.
Well, I mean, I guess, just about everybody always assumes if one is ever brung in, it's going to be brung in dead, I would think, 99% of people are assuming that it's going to be either dead of natural causes or, hit by a vehicle or what have you, train even, whatever. But yeah, as far as a live one, I mean, that whole scenario is a lot more involved than a dead one, because of course, if you have a live one, especially if it's injured, let's say, like most injured animals, they tend to lash out, and you get a creature as big and as powerful as a Sasquatch is supposed to be, and it is injured and feels cornered and perhaps fear. I think that's going to be a very dicey, very tricky situation to try to handle that safely. A creature of that power, that size and power, that kind of a build that it's got. I'd like to know what the heck you're going to put it in to to keep it from harming you and maybe itself more. You need like some kind of cage made out of titanium or something. Super strong. I think unless you could knock it out cold, sedate it somehow, I think you got a real issue on your hands with a live one.
Yeah, that's for sure. That would definitely be a tricky situation. There's no doubt about it. My understanding is we do have a Skype caller that goes by Dark Matter. I know that Dark Matter has a radio show here on Blog Talk Radio. The fun part will be figuring out which one he is.
Well, if he just called in, then he probably would be the bottom Skype, or is it the one that's above a couple of numbers with the hand up? That's the thing.
Well, let's see. Let's go by what you just said. Let's take this one on the bottom here. Skype caller, you're on the air.
Hey man, my name is Mike McGowan.
Hey Mike.
I'm from the big city, the Big Apple, New York.
Yes, sir.
And I've been a training and development specialist. I've been training and development specialist for a couple of years now. With my profession, I've seen a lot of weird stories. Well, this one guy was...
I think that's the same fella.
Yeah. Well, like I said, anytime I hear a young voice and it's a Skype caller, I'm expecting the worst.
Let's try this other Skype caller. Skype caller, you're on the air.
Hello?
Yes.
Hey, have y'all ever gotten night vision goggles and looked out in the woods and saw something looking back at you?
I will admit that I have gotten night vision and seen things with it. Whether they were eyes or not, I don't know. But, no, I do have night vision, have access to night vision, and I have seen things with the night vision, yes.
I do it all the time. I see, like, everything. You can see the Bigfoot babies jumping on the back.
All right. All right, well, neither one of those Skype callers were Dark Matter. Dark Matter, if you're, all right, he says he's got his hand up. Oh, okay. He must. He's got his own name, so I know which one he is now. Okay, Dark Matter. I think we've got you.
Is this me now?
There you are.
Yeah, this is me. Yeah, I'm 20-something, but I'm a troll. I believe in this stuff. But I just have a couple questions for you guys, since you guys are a bit more experts on this than I am. I haven't begun to touch on this.
I don't know that I'm ready to call myself an expert, but I'll listen to your question.
Well, you're probably better than me. No, I'm just curious what your opinion is of what these actually are, whether they are like a missing link or just another entire, cryptozoology, something that hasn't been discovered yet. That's just my question.
I tell you what, for a long time, I have been on the fence about it. There's a lot of good theories out there, one being the theory that Dr. Jeff Meldrum has, and that's that these things are some type of descendant of Gigantopithecus blacki. I could go along with that. Obviously, I'm not near as smart as that guy is, so I know he knows a lot more about it than I do. But I do think it's a possibility that these things came across the land bearing, back across from Asia into Alaska, across the natural land bridge that used to exist. I think it is possible. I mean, especially since we do have most of the concentrated sightings seem to be in Canada and in the Pacific Northwest. It kind of makes sense. But I could also on the same hand, I say that, and on the same hand, I can go with a lot of the other theories too, that the possibility that these things are some type of ancient or undiscovered Native American tribe of people that have been here and existed, even before we landed on this continent. I think that's very possible too, because we know that when they first came and settled in this country, there's been writings and things about, when they first started putting up the forts, talking about these big hairy giants coming out of the woods and throwing boulders at the forts. So I don't know. I could go with either way. What do you think, Mike?
I'm sorry, Billy. I've been reading all this text in the chat. I did not quite catch the last part of that. I've been scanning for questions. There was a question or two that was not in caps that I kind of thought I saw, so I went back up and dug it out there.
Well, basically his question is what do we think this creature is? And I kind of have two scenarios. I think that it could be, human, a human-type creature on one hand, whether it be a undiscovered Native American tribe. I could also agree with Dr. Meldrum's ideas of this thing being some type of descendant of Gigantopithecus blacki. That was my, I'm kind of on the fence with both of those, really.
Am I still here? I don't know.
Yeah.
No, you're still here.
I was just wondering if you cut me off. No, I really would like to do a show on this on mine, but I haven't done enough research. But I was just curious on your opinion on what it was, because in my opinion, sometimes I think that it's some sort of missing link, like it's the in between certain types of human evolution. That's just my opinion.
I mean, and that's very possible too. I mean, for all we know, maybe a descendant of Gigantopithecus blacki is like a missing link. We just don't know. There are studies out there that show that Gigantopithecus blacki was capable of being bipedal. So again, that would be the only other thing that we know that walks upright on two legs, other than ourselves. Of course, I kind of say that. I don't know if y'all have seen this. Either one of you, Mike. Have y'all seen that bear that walked on 2 feet for like a huge distance? It was a black bear, and it had 3 legs, and this thing got up upright and walked for probably 100 feet. On 2 legs.
I didn't see that, but I know they have had trained bears, like in a circus and stuff. They've trained, probably over a long period of time, that will walk all the way around the ring on 2 legs. But I mean, that's definitely not the norm. You basically have to train them, or in that case, you're saying that this bear had 3 legs. I guess that was out of necessity. I'm assuming he was missing a front limb.
Yes, he was. He was missing a front leg, but it was amazing. I mean, when you saw it through the woods, I mean, you could see where it could be misidentified very easily.
Yeah, well, yeah, certainly if it had to adapt and had to walk on the hind legs because it was missing a foreleg, a front leg, I could see that, or like I said, the specially trained ones. But other than that, you don't really hear about bears walking any distance at all, right? I mean, what, maybe 20 feet, 50 feet, whatever it is, and then they drop back down.
Yeah. But what was your name again, Dark Matter?
I'm Pete. I'm the main host there, and
You're
I'm,
Pete. Okay,
yeah.
Pete.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I just find it's what I'm big into cryptozoology, and that's usually one of our topics, usually on the weeks for us. I find the Bigfoot one of the best cryptozoology, if it's even considered in that broad spectrum, because of the fact that there's so many more sightings and it's all over the globe, different variations of it. So obviously it's not just, there's a large population, even if they're thinning out. So that's why I find it so fascinating. That's why I checked out your show.
Oh yeah, it's definitely it's always fascinated me. From being a kid, growing up and seeing the Legend of Boggy Creek and just all the books and things that's been written. I mean, it's just I think it's very possible. I don't know why people have such a problem believing it. I mean, I really don't. But
I mean,
if you talk to some of the people that have seen this thing, and they look at you straight in your face and they tell you what they saw, and then you watch their reaction. I've talked about this before. I talked to a 14-year-old girl down in near Petersburg, Virginia, and when she told me, she was telling a few of us what she saw, I literally watched the hair on her arms stand up. You can't make that up. I mean, if somebody has a reaction like that, a bodily reaction like that, when they're telling you something that they saw that just spooked them, then that's as good as it gets.
The reason it's also I know how you feel, because in New Jersey we have the Jersey Devil, and I've seen people talk about the Jersey Devil and have the same reaction to that, just like you just said, have the arms, their hair stand up on their arms. They actually get frightened by reciting things from they said by the Jersey Devil. So we have something really like that, and we also have Big Red Eye in our state. Big Red Eye is a form of Bigfoot, but it's proponents that a Big Red Eye. Again, it's red eyes, and it's also been seen by tons of park rangers in the state. So I mean, I guess we had all different states and maybe different places of the country have different variations of this thing.
Right. Well, that's up there. You're up there where you said you were in New York, right?
No, I'm in New Jersey. I'm in I live in the Pine Barrens, so I live literally in the Jersey Devils kind of home turf there.
I tell you what, me and Mike visited the Pine Barrens, and I tell you what, that place is amazing.
I was watching a special on Monster Hunters, and they actually said that out of all the places he's been in the world, the Pine Barrens was one of the scariest places he's ever been at night.
Well, I think we can all agree to that, can't we, Mike?
Yeah. Well, on the one overnight stakeout we were doing, if you remember, Billy, right next to the abandoned bog, there was that one really especially dark, creepy kind of looking section of forest there that we were, jokingly, referring to the Forbidden Forest. We were calling it joking, and yeah, it looked kind of creepy, and especially in the middle of the night, it's, it definitely. It was especially dark. Not that the rest of everything wasn't dark, because we're talking at night, but it was like absolutely zero moon or starlight in there. It was like just like somebody threw a blanket over the whole area. So yeah, and the other thing that kind of adds to the creep factor is that in that area, a lot of the little creeks are like kind of a rust color, kind of like a reddish brown, which is kind of a little disturbing. Normally water is not that color, but it's due to the type of trees they have there and the type of sap and the soil and stuff.
No, I just think it's New Jersey's pollution. All our water looks like that. New Jersey's water is just disgusting. I go surfing there in the summer, and it's just green. But I appreciate you taking my call and taking the risk of taking the Skype call. And I'd really have one of you guys on to discuss Bigfoot one day, because you probably know a lot more than I ever do on the show. And
I'm sure we could arrange that. Just just notify us, and we'd be more than happy to join us. I'm sure Mike would too.
All right. Well, thanks for having my call, and I'll just continue to listen in. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Now there went a young guy that was not a pranker.
That's right.
a non-hoaxer. You got to wonder. I mean, what are these guys? Their life is that boring that they have nothing better to do but listen to shows like this and call in with pranks. It must be a pretty sad existence if that's the highlight of their night. You know what I mean? I mean, today they got Xbox and PlayStation 3 and, Facebook, and there's so many things to keep them occupied. But the highlight of their night is to listen to a show and to call in a prank. That's a pretty sad existence. It must be pretty lonely kids.
Yeah, they probably say the same thing about us, Mike. A bunch of grown men sitting here talking about a supposedly mythical creature that walks around on two legs in the woods.
But at least we're having a serious discussion about it, We're not calling anybody and pranking them.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
All right, here's another person I know is not a prankster. We got Mr. Bill Green on the line.
How you doing, Billy and Mike?
Good.
Hey,
how you doing, Bill?
I'm doing great so far. It's nice weather in Connecticut. I did see a report on the BFRO website in the recent report section from Massachusetts in the Bridgewater Triangle section. Not really a report, it's a sound report, like a wood knocking.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if Chris is still in the chat or whatever, and he might be interested in looking at that report.
Well, that's good to know about. That was a recent submission?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
But me and Henry did a very interesting show last night with Mike Rugg.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mike's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a very nice person, but we were talking about the Georgia hoax and all this other stuff, that new DVD that's out now, Billy, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean, Bill.
And I watched it, and let's just put it this way, I was speechless, appalled, and all that other fun stuff, and shocking, and, it's just brought up old memories. I gave it a review in the BFF, and I was just like, that's all I did. And I don't know if you want to get it or not, Billy. That's up to you. That's your business. But yeah, I know you're too close to it in a sense. But
nope. I could care less what they do with that DVD, Bill.
Yeah. But at least you're starting to get reports, Billy, in Virginia and stuff. Mike, you're probably not getting reports yet in New York, upstate New York. But
well,
it'll come back. It'll come back around.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think, like I said, overall, I think all of 2009, it's kind of been on a downturn as far as activity, except in Pennsylvania. I don't know what's going on there.
Pennsylvania's getting tons of reports. I mean, up by Chestnut, Blue Tracker just posted a video. It was last week I saw on Henry's blog. He posted finding some stuff up there and stuff. And God, I mean, it's dense. But I gotta get going. I don't want my phone bill getting high, guys.
All right, Bill. Yeah.
But yeah, keep on doing a great show and keep out for Smiter.
All right, bud. Take it easy. All right. Mike, is there any questions or anything? I see one other caller on here that's probably not. Well, I'm not sure.
Yeah, you gotta be careful on those calls.
I don't even know.
Did we pick up the 248 already? Because I see there's a hand on that, and then there's 3 Skype callers, but I don't know. Those are not working out tonight. I don't know if you want to even answer them.
I don't know.
We did have a number of questions in the chat here.
Oh, you know what? Andy Drew also told me he sent me an email to question also.
Okay, and I, not that it's a question or anything, but there's a couple of folks in the chat that I guess were intrigued on us, very briefly touching on the subject of the Pine Barrens, and they not a question, but a couple of people had said, they would like to hear more about the Pine Barrens. I guess maybe some of those folks had no idea that there was, activity in that area, and there definitely is. There has been over a number of years, and there's groups that research specifically in that area, and we've been there. So, they wanted us to talk more about that. So,
yeah, we can definitely talk about that. I know we've discussed it before, but I know there's probably some folks listening that probably haven't heard the stories. What we had happen up there. Let me just. But before we get to that, let me just go ahead and grab Andy Drew's question here.
Yep.
Let me just see if I can find it here. He says it's a long question. So, question. Andy always comes up with these great questions, so I'm sure this is a good one. It says, if you were in the thick woods and came across a really strange-looking tree, a tree that looked like something that came out of a horror movie. You could smell it, touch it, see it up close, but forgot to bring your camera. Then went back the next day with a camera in hand, trying to locate that strange tree again, but had yet another strange sighting, but not a tree, this time a tall, hairy something on two legs. You could smell it, touch it, see it up close, but you were shaking so bad your photo turned out blurry. The following day, you were so excited that you needed to tell someone. You called your local scientist and told them about the strange tree, and the scientist was very interested in that tree, even though you had no photo of it. Next, you tell of the tall, hairy something on two legs, and the scientist says, You ask the scientist, I've seen both the tree and the tall, hairy something on two legs up close, could smell them and touch them. What's the difference between the tree sighting and the tall, hairy something sighting? So the scientist says, well, I've seen a tree before. Oh, goodness. He says, how do you think the scientific community treats the subject of Bigfoot? Well, that's a good point. It's kind of a funny riddle, and at the same time, it's a true point, probably. I know a lot of the, we have, a lot of people to blame here with the way science looks at some of this stuff. That whole Georgia incident, which we don't want to talk about, really set things back. But we have a few, Dr. Meldrum, and I think there's maybe a couple of other people that are looking into it, but as a whole, I think the scientific community looks at us as a laughingstock. The whole subject, really. It's very hard to find anybody in the scientific community that'll even mention the possibility of the existence of a creature like that. So that's the way they look at it, that they think it's a myth. And I'm sure Mike agrees with me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's no question. They take anything that you try to tell them extremely with an extreme giant grain of salt, They don't put much stock in anything that you tell them, and because they want that hard, irrefutable evidence. They want something that they can hold in their little hands and examine and test and retest and share it with their colleagues. They want something physical, and that's just the way it is. As scientists, they want something that they can run a bunch of tests on and run even more tests on and make sure they get identical results. And before they're going to declare it as anything, they want to make sure exactly what it is. And but you would think, there's such a mountain of you could call it circumstantial evidence, but there becomes a point where the mountain of circumstantial evidence, tripping over that word, the mountain gets so high of the evidence that you do have, maybe not ironclad, but it gets to the point where it becomes harder to believe that with all that circumstantial evidence that there is nothing out there and there is no creature. It's harder to believe that than to believe with all that evidence that has been found and witnesses and all that there's nothing out there. You got all the tracks, you have all the eyewitnesses, you have dozens of hair samples come back as unidentified. At some point you'd think the scientists would say, well, you know what? They've got a dozen or 15 hair samples, primate, unidentified, but in the primate family. You'd think that would, cause them to at least take a more serious look at it. But as up to this point, with the exception of very few people like Dr. Jeff Meldrum and Dr. What's the other guy's name? Dr. John Binnernagel, and a handful. The rest really basically blow it right off. It's not worth their time, I guess, is the way they look at it.
Yeah, how many times have we heard people mention that if it was the court of law, with all the circumstantial evidence and with some of the physical evidence that's been gathered, in the court of law, this would be a whole different story. I mean, there's a lot of evidence when you stop and think about it.
Yeah.
You know, the hair samples alone intrigue me, you know, to the point that, you know, so many of them have been, you know, just deemed, unidentifiable. You know, it's got primate characteristics, it's got human characteristics, but it's not human. It's not, you know, and they can't make a decision on it. You know, we had discussed something to this effect, you know, some time back about it would be interesting if we could take all of those results, all the results that's ever come back unidentifiable or with the primate and all the different traits, and compare them together and see if there's any relation to all of those samples. And I don't know that could be done. I don't know if that could even be collected, but it would be interesting if it could.
Yeah, you know what the problem is. I think, I mean, I'm not an expert certainly, and I'm not any scientist, but I believe that a lot of the sample material that they do tests on is destroyed, you know, when they run their tests. So I have a sneaking suspicion that most people never get their hair sample back. You know what I mean? Like, you know, if somebody sends 2 or 3 strands of hair for testing, it probably never comes back. So
right.
unless they saved, if they had 5 strands and they saved 2 or 3 for themselves and only sent 2 or 3, you know, they're just out of luck. I think.
Well, you know, that's a good point, Mike. That's something else to think about too. And I wonder how many other footprints have been found that people cast and they haven't sent, for example, sent to Dr. Meldrum. I mean, once Dr. Meldrum gets it, it's pretty much in his possession. You know, how many times has a cast been taken that's probably never been sent to Dr. Meldrum, that he's never looked at, because people, you know, that people want that as a souvenir, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure there's some people that, like you said, that, you know, they're just happy to have it and you know, want it, like you say, as a souvenir of a expedition or whatever, and they don't turn it in. But at least a cast, you know, a track cast is something that, you know, if properly cared for and handled, you can get it back eventually in one piece. But I'm talking about, you know, supposed hair samples, you know, alleged blood samples. A lot of this stuff is materials are, you know, so to speak, used up in the testing, and they're just gone. You know, it's just, you don't really see anything ever come back.
Yeah, that's very true. All right, well, we're down to about 17 minutes, so if you want to talk about that New Jersey thing, I think you said that they wanted to hear the stories about that.
Yeah, well, a couple people had said, yeah, they seem to be like surprised about the whole Pine Barrens thing. But we do have, I still have, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like 6 questions that I pulled out of chat.
Okay,
so,
go ahead.
You know, I don't know what you want to do first. You want to do the questions, and then we can start talking about the Pine Barrens. And if we go over, you know, we'll go over, and people can always, you know, listen to the archive for the rest of the story, or vice versa. Do you want to do the story, and then we'll go into the archive for the questions? Your choice.
No, we can go ahead and do the questions.
Okay. All right. So let me get these questions back here. Okay. This was from Top Flight 182, which I think that's a new name. I don't remember seeing that name in chat before. Question was not in caps, but I caught it because he typed, or he or she, I'm assuming it's he, typed, my question is, and then, you know, blah, blah, blah. So I caught it even though it's in lowercase. He says, how is it that you guys can continually make a show about something that's make-believe? Is it just for fun, or do you really believe it?
Well, I don't have a problem answering that question.
Me either. But you want to?
I don't like using the word belief. I know it exists. I know it exists simply from people that I've talked to who have been nice enough to share what they saw with the fear of ridicule. Those people are also people that, you know, have, you know, I've talked to people that have very reputable positions in their workplace, people who you wouldn't expect would talk about something like that with fear of, ridicule from some of their, higher up authorities. I mean, I've never personally seen one, or I will not make claim to have seen one. But the people that I've talked to, I have no doubt in my mind that they didn't see one of these creatures. No doubt. So I don't look at it as a belief. Some people talk about believing in God and things like that, but I know it exists based on the people that I've talked to, based on the evidence that's out there, based on written accounts that date back way before the internet age and all of the stuff that we know about now. I know it exists. That's my answer.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would not use the term like you said, make believe. I mean, all right, maybe some people feel that way, but I think most people that think it's a myth or every sighting ever, or and tracks and everything, like they think the complete whole Bigfoot phenomena is a hoax. To believe that is even harder to believe that the creature is real, because if there are actually people out there, and I'm sure there are some, I guarantee you there's some, maybe some even listening to the show as we speak, that believe that every single footprint, every hair sample, every sighting, eyewitness sighting, every sound recorded, these people think it's all misidentifications or outright hoaxes. Well, then you have to assume that people have been doing these hoaxes for over 500 years now and counting, and it's been thousands and probably tens of thousands of people involved with these hoaxes, because it's not only in this country, it's all over the globe, and you have to believe that there's been footprints found that it was the identical matching footprint, the track was identical from one area to another, hundreds of miles apart, 20 years apart. So you have to say to yourself, boy, that guy was a real dedicated hoaxer, that he made a track in an area 20 years prior, waited a whole 20 years, and at 500 or 700 miles in another state made that same track, just on the slim hope that they would both be found and somebody would tie them together and notice that they're the same. I think that's, that's a little more preposterous than actually believing in Bigfoot itself. That's my answer to people that say, well, what if it's just all misidentifications or outright hoaxes? Then it's been going on for over 500 years, and there's an awful lot of people involved in that hoax. I mean, I got a kick out of the people that believe that Ray Wallace, that nonsense that his family was talking about, that he was responsible for creating the whole Bigfoot thing. Well, that's kind of funny, being that, unless Ray Wallace was more than 500 years old, that's just not possible. And some people still cling to that belief. They don't want to hear anything else.
All I know is Ray Wallace must have really got around. That's all I know.
Yeah, he must have got around, and he must have been 500 plus years old. So
yeah,
you know what I mean? I mean,
that's it.
The thing about the First Nations tribes, with the certain tribes in the West with the totem poles, and a lot of other tribes with the carved masks, the ceremonial masks, and the all the little things that they made that resemble a Sasquatch face, an ape-type face, ape-human kind of hybrid face. Where did these guys come up with that? Did they just come up with that out of thin air? Almost all the things that they made on totem poles with things that they saw in their natural environment, and that's what they carved into the poles. So you'll see ravens, or various different birds. You'll see beavers, and all these different animals that that they knew were around them, that lived in the forest. And here you go. Here's an ape-type face. Now scientists will tell you that there's never been any type of ape species that they know about, none that they can say they know about from fossil record on the continent. Okay, so they will definitely tell you, okay, there's been no known gorillas, no known orangutans, whatever, chimpanzees, whatever you want to name, nothing that they can say was any kind of a great ape, but yet you have all these ceremonial masks, all these totem poles. So where did they get this idea for this ape-type face? You know what I mean? I mean, you have to ask yourself these questions when you're saying, well, it can't be real, it's hoaxes or misidentifications. The people that say that really haven't delved into it, really haven't done the research to make an actual informed decision. These are people who read some tripe news article that was, in some news rag that, that the reporter writing it didn't do their proper research and made light of Bigfoot or something, made a joke about it, and so that influenced that person's opinion, and they never really even bothered to do any research.
And then add to that, Mike, add to what you just mentioned about the totem poles and the carvings and stuff, add to that the fact that there have been in several states, West Virginia, Kentucky being a few, where they have found areas of burials of skeletal remains that tower above 7 and 8 feet tall.
Yes, yep, that is true. Large, very, very large skeletons. And what do? They collect them, they stick them in some drawer in some museum, and they forget about it. And nobody that's involved with preserving those is interested in seeing if perhaps this could be remains of a Sasquatch. They just file it away. Oh, it's just an unusually large human, and it's forgotten about, and that's it. That's the end of it.
Yep, yeah, it's definitely a lot of things out there that we often take for granted or forget about. But when you really start diving into it and opening it up and looking at it, it's there's a lot more mysteries out there than we have answers.
Yeah, and like I said, I think anybody that takes a halfway serious look at the evidence that has been collected so far, at the very, very least, I think they're not being honest with themselves if they don't at least come away shaking their head and now considering that it really is a possibility, and at least be on the fence about it. If you're a hardcore skeptic, and then you bother to research for a little while, a month or whatever, month or two, and really get into it and do a lot of reading and stuff, I can't see how you wouldn't at least be partially swayed and at least say, okay, well, I'm at least in the middle now. I'm standing on the fence, But most of the people that outright just blow it off have never bothered to really look at the actual evidence. Like I said, there's been so many, horrible articles written in the media, poking fun at it, and it's obvious, very biased articles from a very slanted point of view, and it's obviously that the people had an agenda, or they just wrote it as a fluff/entertainment piece, and they had no real, they really weren't looking to do anything other than that, just to titillate, and I mean, anybody that does any halfway decent research into this stuff, I can't see them at least not questioning whether it's real or not real, and that's why I kind of laugh at the people who laugh at Sasquatch, that just say it can't be. Well, I hope someday that it is dragged right out into the forefront, and when it is proven, a lot of these people are going to feel very stupid.
Yeah, it'll happen. I mean, whether it happens in our time or not, I don't know, but
yeah,
it'll happen. Let me. I want to get Peter back on here from Dark Matter, because I notice he's back on the line. You're on there?
Yeah, I'm here. Someone asked me to elaborate more on the Pine Barrens.
Oh, okay. You want to get into that, Mike, a little bit?
Yeah,
we'll kind of get into what happened. We definitely don't think we had an encounter with the Jersey Devil. I can tell you that. I think it was on, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but I think it was a Friday night when me and Tom went out there.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe Friday night was when you and Tom had your experience, and then Saturday night, the following night, we all went there en masse and did a whole stakeout of the area.
Right,
yeah.
right. Anyway, Peter, we were set up along this abandoned cranberry bog there in the Jersey Barrens. What was the name of that area, Mike? It was some kind of a state park, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, we were in Wharton State Forest.
Yes.
Which is a large. It's about 110 or 120,000 acres. It's a large state forest, and it's right in the Pine Barrens. And there's another smaller forest nearby called Bass River State Forest. And
that's right near where I live.
Yeah, both of those forests have had sightings and encounters. People have had run-ins with creatures in both of those. In fact, the smaller park, Bass River, it's a very famous sighting there because it was a sighting by a woman and her child, and also at the same time an off-duty New Jersey state trooper who happened to be pulling into the parking lot, and it was a sighting of two creatures at one time, like a smaller creature and obviously a juvenile and an adult. And the woman and her child ran screaming, and the off-duty New Jersey trooper just happened to see this as he was slowly cruising through in his car, his personal vehicle, off-duty, and so that's a famous sighting. But both of those areas have had a history of activity.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing down here because the Jersey Devil is a bit different than the Bigfoot because it's actually moved towards people and it's actually made actions towards people as opposed to the Bigfoot being kind of reclusive. They've had reports of the Jersey Devil flying along cars, crawling on rooftops. That's the major thing. People usually see it around their homes. But my theory on it is that it's actually some sort of chupacabra type thing because it's actually been found to attack livestock and cattle, and actually, I don't know if it's actually eating them, but it's splattered blood all over the place. It's been but the Pine Barrens is a very eerie place. They've had tons of people down here. There's tons of Jersey Devil hunting sites, and it's one of the biggest cryptozoology creatures, at least that I know. But there's some theories that are really crackpot theories that I've heard. There's people think it's a sandtail crane, which would be impossible because it's not as doesn't match up the description, and then people even thought it's even a dragon. But have you guys heard any? When you guys were out there, you said you saw something, or you guys didn't see something?
Well, me and another researcher by the name of Tom, we were out there along this cranberry bog, and before, let me just say this real quick since we've only got 2 minutes. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We're going to continue the show into the archives, so if you want to hear the rest of the show, you can tune in later and listen to the archives. We thank each and every one of you for listening in tonight. Thank you so much. It wouldn't be a show without you. And I'll continue. Me and Tom were along this abandoned cranberry bog. We had our chairs. We had set up late one evening. We had actually picked out this spot based on some topographic maps that we had looked at, and we had decided it would be a good place to set up. We had a kind of like a lake behind us. It was an old bog at one time, but it was just kind of like maybe a quarter, half acre lake. Right behind us. So we actually set our chairs up with the water behind us because our exact thinking at that time was, okay, if we set our backs to the water, nothing can come up behind us. Well, we learned later that was a mistake. Anyway, we're sitting there that night in our chairs. We've got night vision equipment. We have some bionic ears set up so that we can hear sounds out in the forest. Well, there's a particular point in time that off to our right side, we started to hear something moving in the woods. It almost sounded like something rolling two logs together. You know how it sounds when like that hollow knocking sound? Almost like something was rolling two logs together. Soon after that, we started to hear what sounded like footsteps in this bog area in front of us, like something was carefully stepping through the water, but it was doing it very quietly. And this all happened over a span of like an hour. I mean, it went on for a long time. Later on, the movement, we started noticing it off to our left, so it was almost like it had moved completely from our right side over to the left side. Now, this whole time we had night vision. We never saw anything whatsoever the whole time. Well, I believe it was somewhere around 10 o'clock at night that we started, I mean, it got so quiet that we probably started dozing off. I mean, we were probably dozing off back and forth. And then just all of a sudden, with no warning whatsoever, we get this huge splash right behind us in the lake. Couldn't have been no more than 20 feet away from us. It sounded like a 500-pound man doing a cannonball off of a diving board. I mean, this was not no beaver tail slap, nothing like that. I mean, you almost could feel the mist off of the water. It was that close. And our immediate reaction was we jumped up out of our chairs, with the exception of Tom, whose chair got stuck to his rear end and he actually fell down. Took him forever to get up. We had one of those 10 million candlelight-powered flashlights, and we immediately turned it on. Well, when we turned it on, we couldn't see nothing because there was a fog bank that was like 20 feet high, and it was so thick you couldn't even see through it. And when we first went in there, there was no fog, there was nothing. I mean, it was just as clear as it could be, completely clear. Now we have this huge fog bank, and you can't even see through it. We're sitting here struggling to see what's going on. About probably 20, 30 seconds later, another big splash a little further away occurs. So we're trying to focus, through this fog, and it's not doing us any good. And shortly after that is we're trying to make a decision on what we're going to do. As I'm looking down the left side where the trail is that we actually walked in on, I see this reddish-brown figure, and there's no fog down the trail, and it's coming out of the edge of the lake, passes by a tree. I can see it going in behind the tree limbs, and then it goes across and into the woods. I was able to see where it was, what limbs this thing was height-wise. When we came back the next day and took a measurement, this thing was it was pretty towering. It was it was a good easy 7 or 8 feet tall. We don't know what we saw. We think we saw Bigfoot, but it was probably one of the most scariest experiences. To imagine something being able to get that close to you without hardly making a sound and get darn near within 20 feet of you and make a splash like that, that was pretty spooky. That was really spooky.
Yeah. The Pine Barrens are really freaky. I've gone there on a regular basis. Do you hear me echoing? Because I fear as if I hear myself.
Yeah. No, I hear you just fine.
No, I keep hearing myself. That's all.
I hear the echo here on my phone. I hear it.
Wonder what it is. Anyway, pretty much the fact that the Jersey Devil has been known to creep up on people like that. So it might be real that you might have saw him. Could you make out any shape, anything like that?
Well, no. It simply looked. It was a reddish brown color. Mm-hmm. It looked like it was walking upright, just like the typical Bigfoot creatures. I mean, it didn't look. I've seen a lot of the depictions of the Jersey Devil, and like you said, a lot of people depict the Jersey Devil as this dragon-looking thing. I've seen a lot of them that depict them that way, but no, whatever this was, it was definitely upright, and it was tall. And it just simply walked out of the edge of the lake and into the woods. So, yeah, it was. See, we don't believe that fog bank was indeed a fog bank. Tom's theory is because of the temperatures at night, along with the humidity readings that we checked on later. We believe that anything warm-blooded would have jumped in there, could have created almost like a thick steam, if it had a lot of body heat to it. So we don't think that was fog, because everywhere else there was no fog on the lake. When we were going out, that area where the splash occurred was the only area that had that fog bank. Everything else was clear. We could see all the way across the water with the flashlight. So whatever it was right directly behind us.
I mean, that sounds like a typical description of a Jersey Devil sighting. A lot of the sightings actually have it flying, not walking all the time. And they've actually said that it's come up out of nowhere. No one would have known that it was there unless they turned around and saw it. So.
Oh, we had no clue. We had no clue that something had moved in behind us.
But it's a good idea for you to continuously come down to the Pine Barrens because it seems to be a hot spot for just anything, even if it's just Bigfoot. You guys have only been here once, you said, right? Just once at one time?
Yeah, I don't think you all ever went back, did you, Mike?
Well, I'll answer it this way. We have not been back on an official expedition as a group, with a group of people, but I've been there several times myself and planned to go there last year, but unfortunately lost my job for most of last year and didn't have the funds to drive back and forth and everything. But I plan to go this year, and in fact, I'm going to try to hook up and work with. There's a pair of researchers from Maryland. It's actually a married couple, a man and his wife, that are researchers out of Maryland, and they almost exclusively do their research in the Pine Barrens. And I've been chatting with them, and I think I'm going to wind up hooking up with them and doing some more research this year in the Pine Barrens. I wanted to last year, but just couldn't do it with the expense of the driving and the tolls, the gas, everything back and forth. But yeah, it's an interesting area, and they have an interesting theory, this couple, about the Pine Barrens, which I think definitely makes it worth exploring.
It's fantastic. I love living down here, especially being into cryptozoology as I am. It's just the eeriness at night because I end up, getting bored at night, so I take drives to the back roads. There's so many cryptozoological creatures in New Jersey. You have the big red eye, like I said. You have Jersey Devil. You have they had the Hoboken Monkey Man for a while. I mean, there's if you ever got a chance, you could check out Weird New Jersey. It's a website. It's a biannual magazine. They have all just weird stuff in New Jersey. There's just a plethora of stuff in my state. People don't realize sometimes. So if you want to check that out.
I've often said, and I've often wondered, that I think a lot of these other sightings of these other alleged cryptid creatures, I think a lot of them could be contributed to Bigfoot or Sasquatch as well. I think a lot of these sightings, people are describing, a large creature, red glowing eyes. Well, that fits Sasquatch and Bigfoot as well. Screams, high-pitched screeches. Again, that's a Bigfoot trait. I think a lot of times it could go either way, as far as when people have an encounter. I mean, obviously, if they don't get a good look at it, they just know it was big and scary and, it screamed high-pitched or had red eyes or what have you. But I know a lot of people that the encounters that I've read, some of them, it sounds very much like a Sasquatch, even though some people may attribute it to Jersey Devil or Mothman or, Chupacabra or whatever you want to attribute it to.
I find that actually the sightings that are actually probably the most valid are the ones that have the least description. Because when you're scared out of your wits and you don't know what you're seeing, you really don't have time to say, oh, well, the wingspan's 10 feet, he's 10 feet tall, he looks like this. You don't have time to take a look at him. You're probably running the opposite direction if you're that scared. You know what I mean?
I agree with you 100% on that, Peter, because the first thing that me and Tom did after we knew the thing had moved was we made our plan on how fast we were going to get back that quarter mile to the truck. Now, we sit here and we think about this. Me and Tom have talked about this so many times, what did we do right and what did we do wrong? And I think we all do this to ourselves. We beat ourselves up. If we could have done it over, we would have liked to think that we would have been less frightened over the whole ordeal and actually tried to explore what happened. I mean, if the thing wanted to get us, it would have got us. I mean, if it got that close, it could have got us if it wanted to. But you don't think about that at the time because your adrenaline gets rushing and you're like, man, I'm getting out of here. I mean, when we literally were driving in the truck, on one of those little back, and I know since you live down there, you've been on them, you get on them sandy roads, and it's like the bushes are like right up against your vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
And we were going out of there, and we kept looking at each other. What would we do right now if something jumped out of one of these bushes? You know, we just kept asking ourselves that. What would we do? Well, I don't know. We would just run over it or something. But
You really don't know until you see it. You know, you don't really until you have that split reaction. You know, the flight or fight response. Really.
Yeah, and that's what we had. We had a flight response. You know, it was, you know, and I hate to say that. I really do. I hate to say that because that's what we were there for, but yet it frightened us so bad that we had a flight response. So,
it's nothing to be ashamed of. You know, I'd probably, you know, crap my pants and turn the opposite direction and run as fast as I could. As much as I'm interested in the subject, you know, I wouldn't stick around to find out.
Yeah, it's definitely probably one of the most interesting places that I've been to, with the exception of a place down in Texas. But yeah, definitely the Pine Barrens is one of my favorites. It's definitely a creepy place.
Oh, it's
definitely
awful. I hate it here. I hate it and I love it.
And Billy, we should probably mention Chris typed it into chat. He was nice enough to type the link into chat. Chris B was in the chat there from NESRA. But if anybody wants to read the whole story of our entire expedition to the Pine Barrens, that was back in October 2006. The entire report, and it's quite an extensive, in-depth report, is posted on the NESRA website. So if anybody wants to go there and read it, you can just go to the Team NESRA website, which is www.teamnesra, that's TEAMNESRA.net /Drupal, DRUPAL. And if you go on there, on the left-hand side, on the home page when it first loads up, on the left-hand side, there'll be expedition reports, and you just got to go through there and look, and you'll find one from October 2006 that tells the whole story of everything that we found and experienced there. We also found a pretty sizable track in that area on the one of the back roads there, like the 4x4 roads. We couldn't cast it because it was in sand, and it probably wouldn't have come out good at all, but you can clearly see the toes in the track, and it was a large track. So we had some interesting stuff go on, but you can read the report on the Team NESRA site, and it tells everything.
I'm looking at it now.
Check that out, Peter, because you'll see the exact map where we were set up. We actually got both an aerial view and a topographic view of our exact setup location, so you'll be able to figure out where we were at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It's pretty interesting stuff.
Not only is the encounter site marked exactly, basically GPS coordinates at that, and aerial maps, but also the location where we found the track is marked as well. It's a very extensive report. There's a good 6 or 8 maps in there, and it pinpoints exactly what happened, where, and when.
Well, I gotta split because I work really early in the morning.
All right, man.
Thanks for having me on. What days do you guys come on so I can watch it more religiously?
Every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Ah, great, fantastic. I'll check you guys out and hope you guys check out my show, see what you think.
We'll definitely do that. Thanks a lot, Peter.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Well, I'll tell you what, we had a good time tonight, Mike.
Yeah, definitely did. Did you want to try to get through some of these questions before we wrap it up? 'Cause
yeah, we can do that. I've got time.
We still got some questions, and I know we can still go at least another 15 minutes here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. We had a question from Polypodium, but yeah, this will be a quick one because we already did talk about that. This question just says, Mike, did you guys talk about the Mike Green thermal yet? Just logged into the show and was curious. Yes, we definitely talked about the Mike Green thermal, Polly, and if you listen back to the archive of the show earlier in the show, you can hear us talk. We talked about it for a good couple of minutes.
Yep.
All right. There was a thing from our buddy JC, but being that we're pressed for time and there's much more other pressing questions, I think we're going to forgo that.
Well,
sorry,
he wanted
JC.
to know he wanted to know who the world's greatest Bigfoot hunter was?
No, this one was he wanted to know who's the best-looking female Bigfoot investigator. But
We'll let him answer that on the next show.
We've got a lot more other more serious questions. We're trying to squeeze in here in the last few minutes. Empire or Empirer, E-M-P-I-R-E-R. I guess it's Empirer, Bob. Thought it said Empire, but there's another R in there. He's asking, ask him why bones of a Bigfoot were never found. And I know
yeah, that's a subject that's been talked about a lot, I'm sure.
Yep.
Matter of fact, even the latest National Geographic special, I thought brought it out quite well. I don't know if you got to see that, Mike.
Yeah.
Dr. Meldrum had talked about it. You know, the forest here, the bones just don't last because of the. Yeah, go ahead.
1 week is basically
yeah.
As much as they're going to last. They did that thing where they staked down the deer carcass, and it was 7 days later, and there was just the vaguest little remnants of some little scattered bones left. Everything else was, dragged off and eaten by by scavengers, and even like bones as hard as teeth and skull pieces will be eaten by porcupines. They have incredibly tough jaws, and they can grind that stuff down. So.
Yep. Yep. And personally, I don't think these things die, anywhere near areas where we frequent. These things probably die in areas that are deep in the forest or deep in the valleys, and by the time anyone would ever run across it, it would done be long gone.
Yeah. Well, any wildlife biologist worth their salt can tell you that all animals, basically their natural instinct if they're not killed suddenly and violently, like get hit by a vehicle or a tree falling on them or something, but if they are slowly dying from an illness or an injury and they know it, they're going to seek to hide themselves, because they, while they are still alive just before they die and in a weakened state, they don't want to be fall prey to some other more powerful animals, start eating on them when they're still alive, So they're going to hide themselves, and that's just a natural instinct. They don't want to be chewed up by wolves or bears or whatever before they're dead. So, when they get into a very weak state, they're going to be holed up someplace. And like you said, probably nobody's ever going to find it.
Yep, that's definitely for sure.
Okay, we had another question here from John, Tennessee. And he says, what type of protection do you guys take along on your searches in the woods to protect against other wildlife?
There are times when I go out, there are times when I'll take just regular bear spray. Really, the only thing we have to worry about up here, wildlife-wise, would be black bear, which typically they just go in the other direction. The only time I think they really bother you is if you get between them and a cub or between them and a food source. But I also carry other protection for other reasons, and that would be more of the two-legged type, and we're not talking about Bigfoot. We have a tendency here in Virginia, and I'm sure this is true across other areas of the U.S., but here in Virginia, even on public land, there are times when you will run into some folks that you may not want to run into who are probably doing things that they shouldn't be doing in the woods. And I do carry a firearm concealed. So that's a decision that I made back, several years ago. And, it's just there for protection if it's needed. Other than that, it stays where it's at. So that's what I do.
Yeah, I basically just carry the bear spray and a machete, and that's basically because it's very useful for one thing. It's very useful as a tool. You can clear some high grass or weeds if you want to set a chair up in an observation area. Doing a stakeout, and you don't want to have the weeds right up into your face. You can clear a swath out of your way to set your chair up. You can chop small kindling wood up for a fire. You can whittle branches off of a piece of wood and make a knocking stick out of a piece of wood that's got some branches sticking off it. So I always carry one because it's useful, and as an absolute last resort, life or death situation, it is another weapon besides the bear spray. Should you have to try to defend yourself against anything, whether it be human, bear, coyote, or otherwise. The bear spray would be the first line of defense, and if that didn't stop whatever it was coming at you, well, hopefully it doesn't come to that. But if it did, it's better to have a machete than just your bare hands. At least you got some other type of weapon.
Yep, it's protection is important.
But it's very. I find it very useful as a tool on the expeditions, and that's the really one of the main reasons I carry it. I just find it useful. In fact, you and Tom actually borrowed it on that Pine Barrens expedition to clear some high grass out of your area when you were setting up. So it does.
Oh yeah, we had to. That place was growing up like crazy.
Yeah, it does have a useful purpose, and like I said, you can chop up kindling wood, and you can whittle down other wood and make knocking sticks on the spot, and it definitely pays to carry one.
That's true.
We had another question from Empirer Bob. Says, does Bigfoot look different in different regions?
I've heard that is true. Of course, we hear of, like down in the Florida area, we hear of them being a little bit skinnier, lankier, I guess you could say. Of course, in the Pacific Northwest, you hear about them being seem to be a lot taller, a lot larger, as well as down in the South, like around Texas area, down that way. You hear, some incredible heights, of, 9+ feet. Or I guess up in New York and up your way, you typically get like the black ones up that way, right, Mike? Mostly the black and fairly large creatures there as well.
Well, I mean,
6-7 foot range, I think.
I mean, you certainly have a good population of black bear in various sizes, from cubs to very large, adult males. You can also get some other large creatures, obviously deer, obviously. But there's some people that say there's even moose, up there, certain areas, certain regions. So there are a number of large animals that you can, stumble across up there in upstate New York. Especially the higher up you go, the more likely you are. The areas with the thinnest population density and the thickest woods, that's where you're going to find most of that.
Yeah. Yep. True.
We have two more questions left over here. This one is from Spin Dave, and he says, question, in the winter even the black bear seeks shelter through the winter months. Wouldn't it seem logical that Bigfoot would also seek shelter in either coniferous forests or caves? I can't see any other place Bigfoot could find shelter in the cold period.
Yeah, you know what, Mike? If we're going to have to cut the question short. I just got a phone call, and apparently there is a medical emergency.
Okay, well,
I'm going to have to cut
we'll
it
have
short
to end
here.
the show then. All right.
All right. So thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see everyone next week.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Take care, Billy. Hope everything works out.
A legend passed down through the generations. A myth to some, reality to others. Thousands claim to have encountered this creature from all around the world. Footprints discovered, unidentifiable hairs collected, unusual sounds recorded. Something is out there. Sasquatch Watch Radio. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, on the Blog Talk Radio Network, interviewing the men and women researching this phenomenon, the latest news and information, research techniques, and cutting-edge technology. True terrifying encounters as told by those who have experienced them. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, on the Blog Talk Radio Network. Your host, Billy Willard of Sasquatch Watch of Virginia, brings you the most riveting discussions on the internet today. blogtalkradio.com/Sasquatch Watch Radio. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, Sasquatch Watch Radio. The truth is out there. Welcome to Sasquatch Watch Radio.